welcome to episode 17 of the VisWorld Weekly podcast for June 29th, 2009. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in this week, starting off with hardware. First off in hardware is an interesting article about a group of researchers using the Mare Nostrum supercomputer with cell processors from IBM, Sony, Toshiba, and the like to create an interesting project called Kaleidoscope for real-time interactive visualization of oil and gas data. It's a pretty interesting read. You can go check it out. Also, there's a new product on the market from LucidLogix called Hydra. Now, while this hasn't actually come to commercial yet, what they've done is created a hardware workaround for the limitations of the existing NVIDIA SLI and ATI Crossfire architectures. Those right now work on a complete frame buffer solution, where either the two cards render alternate frames, or they work on a single frame with one taking the top and one taking the bottom. The Hydra solution works by decomposing the scene into objects so that each card renders a subset of the polygon count of the final scene. This is a much more scalable solution, but requires more work on the part of the driver and the application developers. Whether or not such a thing will take off, it's probably not likely if they keep it the way it is. But if they can license the technology to NVIDIA and ATI, then you've probably got a serious competitor to the existing SLI and Crossfire space. Also this week, there was an interesting article that came out about NVIDIA's recent Analyst Day, where they invite a bunch of financial analysts to review some of the goings-on in the company. There were two interesting pieces that came out of this. One was that just recently NVIDIA actually beat analyst expectations but reported a loss for the quarter. Well, they finally admitted that this came from them attempting to stockpile inventory right before the economic crash and then being stuck with it as the bottom plummeted out of the market. This, of course, required them to sit and wait while they burned off their stockpiled inventory before they could get into new stuff. Also, it was announced that they do, as many people had theorized, get preferential treatment at the TSMC fabrication facilities, which is why NVIDIA seems to have a pretty fast turnaround whenever they come out with new chips. So that wraps up hardware. It was a short section this week. So we're going to move on into graphics. We've got some fun graphics to talk about this week, lots of videos. So just like last week, I'm going to do a minimal of talking and let the videos speak for themselves. First off is a fun Nike commercial where they show a mechanical man doing some free running through the streets. Check it out. Next up is a new commercial from Zoic Studios, where they worked with Blizzard from the World of Warcraft franchise to create a commercial for Mountain Dew's new Game Fuel drink. It's pretty fun. Check it out. And the last commercial we're going to talk about this week is a fascinating commercial from The Mill for a Swedish financial company called MFA, I believe. This is actually CG work, but you wouldn't think it just to watch it. Here, take a look. And lastly this week, there's no video to accompany this, but it was announced this week that Bethesda, the company that owns Bethesda, has actually acquired ID Software. Bethesda is of course well known for Fallout and the Elder Scrolls series, and ID Software is well known for Doom and Quake. The merger of the engine used in the Doom and Quake games with the real-time strategy and RPG elements of the Bethesda franchises, could really make a powerhouse of a game if ever brought to market. We'll just have to keep an eye on them and see where they're going. So that wraps up graphics. Let's go ahead and move on into the last segment this week, science. There's some interesting graphics came out this week from a Dutch telecom. This is very similar to some stuff that came out late last week of some real-time flight data infographics. But what they've done is track call volumes and destinations to create some interesting interactive infographics. There's videos and pictures on their website, and you can go there for the full details. Also this week, Georgia Tech announced that they're using GPGPUs for military applications, specifically to speed up processing of radar imagery, which is typically a very time-sensitive operation. There's no details on the actual operational throughput. Such stuff is probably considered classified. But it's another use of GPGPU in the field, seeing some great results. In some fun videos this week, NASA has released their 2008 hurricane recap. Now what they've done is combine satellite imagery from their various weather satellites with storm tracking information from NOAA and overlaid that on top and created a 1-minute long compilation of the entire 2008 hurricane season. Check it out. Also this week, NASA came out, just today in fact, with a fascinating new data set. They've actually got the world's highest and most complete resolution global geotopical map. This was done in combination with the Japanese, using I think 3.7 million stereo pairs of images to compile the data. Previous maps only covered about 60% of the globe's surface, while this one is pretty much complete. They've got some great fly-throughs on their website you can check out. So that does it for this week. Of course, with the news of this week, I'd be remiss if I didn't include something about Micheal Jackson. There's an interesting VFX tribute that's actually from about 3 years ago, where somebody managed to motion track the characters of the Final Fantasy movie onto Micheal Jackson's famous Thriller. So I'm going to play us out with that, and until next week, see you next time.